Let's make a stack of pancakes. This video has been sped up, so it will look like I am going pretty fast. First thing you will need to do is tear your clay into 3 pieces. I like to roll each of mine just so I can check that the size is the same. You want each of them to be about the same amount. Looks pretty good. So I'm going to take one of those pieces and put it back in my plastic bag just so it doesn't dry out while I'm making the other pieces. And we're going to start by making a slab for the bottom of our box. So I like to pound it flat between my hands first, and then using the flat of my hand, getting it flatter on the table. We're going to use the bowl to check the size and use it to cut out a circle. So once you get to a certain point, you can use the dowel as a rolling pin to get it thinner. Once it's big enough, you can use this wooden stick to draw around the clay, take off the bowl, and then cut it all the way out. Keep track of those extra pieces of clay because you will need them for later. Once it's cut out, you can dip your finger in some water and smooth out all of the edges. Set that one aside, and you'll do the same thing for the lid of your stack of pancakes. Pound it between your hands, get it flat. You can smack it against the table without making too much noise, and then switch to the rolling pin to get it really flat. You still want it to be about the thickness of your pinky. If the clay is too thin, when your project is all together, it will collapse. Check the size. If one is a little bit smaller than the other one, it's okay. Smooth out the edges. And you're good to go. Now that we have the top and bottom done, let's move that to the side, and we're going to get all of our extra clay out. Tear a piece off that you can use to work and make a coil. I like to squeeze it between my hands and get it about like that, and then I can start rolling it on the table. You don't really want to do this on the mess mat because the mess mat will move all the way around. And rolling it on the table, trying to get it long and skinny. I was having a problem when I was doing this on the video, so I had to move to the side. That way I wasn't bumping into the tripod. Okay, you want it to be about the thickness of your pinky or a pencil. If some spots get a little bit too thin, you may have to break it apart and just keep going. Looks pretty good. Now remember, we were talking about attaching pieces of clay together. So you will want to score with your toothbrush around the outer part of your clay circle. You'll also want to slip and score onto one side of that long coil that you just made. And then you'll put the 2 scored sides together. Press them firmly so that they'll stay. Now once you get all the way around to the other side, you'll want to now start scoring the top of your coil so that you can just keep going around and around. Once you get around with one coil, you'll want to just keep rolling more and more coils to keep going and build the walls up of your stack of pancakes. This is technically called a coil pot, but we're doing ours to look like a stack of pancakes. Okay, now that I've got a new coil, I can keep going from where I left off, score the top of my coil, and start where I left off. Smooth that edge out, press it down, being cautious that my walls are not going to collapse. Okay, now let's pretend I had kept going with this and I got it the height that I wanted. What I would want to do then is smooth out the edges, carefully flip it upside down, and tap it against the table without the bottom collapsing. That way, the top is nice and flat for my lid. That's what I was doing when I was tapping it against the table. All of my extra clay, you can keep going to build up the walls of your clay, or you can add things like butter or strawberries or berries or other things onto the top of your lid for the pancakes. Make sure you leave enough clay so you can add those extra details.